What's going on, everybody? So Warzone Season 1 Reloaded just came out, and you're wondering what weapons you should be using the next time that you drop in. Well, today we're going to be using true game data to establish the long and close range metas for your loadouts. Let's get into it. All right, so first thing that we'll want to do is go over to truegamedata.com, which if you haven't used before or even heard of is the best tool in the industry for time to kill data and meta information. If you're interested in using this in the future, I'll drop a link in the description. All right, so let's jump into the methodology and how to use the tools. First, I usually like to run the meta gen. You can quickly just go through the instructions here. And the builder, typically I'll just run through this, hit aggressive close range or long range, depending on what I want to test. Update trios quads. I typically do quads because that's the mode that I usually play. You can turn on and off the suppression if you would like. I personally don't think that I need a suppressor, but if you feel strongly about having a suppressor on your weapon, you can turn that on. And then laser visibility, and then you can also add whatever other important weights you would like to things like reload time, ADS, high rate of fire, movement speed, so on and so forth. And then that will spit out results for you, and that'll give you a top list of what meta guns are. Typically anything above a 9.0 and higher will be considered in the running for meta or viable. So I typically will stick to the top 10 for my testing there. And so today we'll basically run through kind of the top 5 to 10 here, figure out what makes sense for me, and then kind of figure out what our loadouts are from there. And then again, you can do the same thing for close quarter. So I'll kind of just scroll through what those weapons are. Items and attachments aren't necessarily gospel. You can kind of play around with these in the comparison tool, MetaGen, and the TTK simulator to kind of figure out what works best for you. All right, and so once I have my list of guns that I want to use, I will take those, I will create classes within the firing range in the actual game, and I will start testing. So that is what we'll do next. So essentially what I like to do here is I will pull out whatever gun I like to test. Here we're going to start with the SVA. I kind of just walk right up to this thing, and you'll see in the top left the targets killed and accuracy metrics will pop up. And then I will step back as far as I can, and I'll start shooting this target here to kind of get us started. And what I want to do is kind of strafe back and forth like we would do whenever we're actually playing a game in order to activate that aim assist, and also just so that we're not standing still. And what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to kill this target about 10 times, and then I'm going to take that accuracy average and I'm going to pop that into our TTK simulator. So basically just do this. Okay, so once we're done killing 10 of the dummies, we'll take the number that's at the top left, the accuracy average, and take that and put it into our true TTK simulation here. And what we'll want to do is just take that number, plug it into here, and then we'll conduct the same thing for the rest of the guns that we have selected here. You want to make sure that when you're filling this out that you have TTK selected, health value at 300. We'll keep bullet travel time and open bolt delay on. Okay, so now we have all of our accuracy data points in here for each of the guns. We'll run the report, scroll down a little bit, make sure that our start and end are set to 25 and 75 meters. You're not going to take too many long range engagements with one of these long range guns in between 0 and 25 meters. Then you're typically not going to have too many gunfights that are over 75 or hitting those shots accurately on a controller. So immediately something that jumps out is our BAS-B up until about 42 meters is the strongest gun that we have. And kind of close with that is our SVA. SVA kind of stays consistent accuracy wise. And I definitely do feel that if you use it as a burst weapon, leave auto fire on, and you kind of just tap that burst really quickly. It does not move, stays straight pretty much at all distances. So again, kind of looking at this, the SVA, the Bruin, BAS-B, Pull'em Yacht, and that DG kind of stick out. Something I would definitely recommend is if you have access to the tool or you want to get access to the tool, I would come in and run those accuracy metrics on your own, because I've seen a lot of people that have very different results with this. For example, a lot of people love the RAM right now. A lot of top streamers, a lot of pro players are running the RAM, and they can control it very easily. But I personally have a really hard time controlling that. So that is not a gun that I'm going to be using. Yeah, it's all kind of up to you. Definitely go in, test this out on your own. All right, so that brings us to our number one gun on the list, the SVA. Again, want to reiterate that I do not use this one as a full automatic weapon. I keep full auto on, but I use it as a burst rifle. So whenever I lock onto someone, I'm hitting that trigger as fast as I can and essentially does not move. I put on the Spirit Fire suppressor like we do for most. I have the Corio Eagle Eye 2.5X like we do for most assault rifles. Precision barrel and the main V6 stock will help with a little bit of that damage range and recoil control. And then the 60 round mag is just a must on most of these weapons. Right, and then we'll move on to the second weapon on the list. I've got the Pull'em Yacht. So this one did not really get changed with the update. Got a slight nerf, but nothing major. Sonic suppressor barrel. We've got the Bruin heavy support. The Corio Eagle Eye, the command in order to help us with some of that recoil, and then we turn on the Jack Annihilator kit. Number 3 on the list is going to be the Bass B. We've got the Spirit Fire suppressor on here, Venom long barrel, the Bruin heavy support, the 2.5 and the 45 round mag. When you're testing this out, if you like it without the Eagle Eye 2.5X, the iron sights are pretty clean. I'd recommend coming in here and grabbing the Ravage 20 heavy stock and replacing that optic. Next on the list is going to be the TAC Eradicator, same suppressor. We'll put this barrel on here to help some of that damage range, this stock in order to help with some of the gun kick and recoil control. And then we don't need a mag because it has a 75 on there, and we'll throw on the 2.5. And the last gun that we have on our top 5 for long range weapons is going to be the Bruin. This one actually surprised me a little bit, but once you put that high velocity on there, it actually does make a huge difference and can compete with a lot of the meta guns. So same suppressor, under barrel, optic, smaller mag for that quicker reload time, and then we're going to throw high velocity on. All right, so next we're going to go into our top 5 for close quarters. So we're going to have all SMGs here. First one that I'm going to recommend is the HRM. We're going to put the Sandstorm on to help with some of that recoil control. The Princeps long barrel is going to help with some of that distance. This actually ends up being a pretty viable weapon from about 30 meters out. We're going to put on the Kimura Seraphic vertical grip. So this grip is good for a little bit of that recoil control, gun kick control, but also really helps with some of that movement speed with a very minimal ADS speed delay here. Stock is going to help us with some of that movement speed as well and kind of help get some of that ADS back. And then we're going to throw the 50 round mag on. Second gun on the list is going to be the AMR9. We're going to start with the Commando here. This is going to help with some of that movement speed. We're going to throw on the hand stop, also going to help us with a little bit of that movement speed and a minimal impact to some of that recoil control. 50 round mag. I personally like to have an optic on this because I think that the irons are absolute garbage. And then the last one we're going to throw on here is stock in order to get some extra ADS speed. All right, number 3 on the list is going to be our Swarm. Didn't really change too much, still extremely viable, even with some of the newer guns and some of the buffs to other guns. I like to put the mini brake on here. This one helps a little bit with some of that horizontal recoil. Adds a little bit of vertical recoil, but I personally don't have too much trouble pulling straight down now that horizontal is out of the equation. This barrel will help with some of the effective damage range and a little bit more of that recoil control. 100 round mag because that just doesn't make sense for an SMG, but we love it. We're going to use this Fortress stock here to get even more of that recoil control down. And then I personally like to have an optic on here, but if you do not like an optic, you can always put on the DR6 hand stop or even the Bruin heavy support grip. Number 4 on the list is going to be the WSP49, which actually surprised me. I hadn't used this gun before, but it popped up on the metric charts from True Game Data and figured I'd give it a try, and I actually think it feels pretty nice. So we're going to put the suppressor on here. We're going to put this barrel on here to get a little bit of that ADS speed and that sprint to fire speed. Hand stop, similar to other ones, is going to help with the same thing, ADS and sprint to fire. Again, I like to have an optic on here personally. I like this little NIDAR one that looks like a monocle. Some of you may like the slate reflector. And then I throw a 50 round mag on here. All right, and number 5 on the list is another surprise here. This is the Core 45. So this is the pistol that you land into Urzikstan with. We're going to throw this triport on here. This is going to help us with some of that vertical horizontal recoil control and some of that gun kick, because this gun definitely has a lot of kick. We're going to throw the 40 round mag on. Laser is going to help with some of that ADS and sprint to fire speed. Hand stop, very similar thing, is going to help us with some of that sprint to fire and ADS speed, and also a little bit of our movement speed. And then we want to throw on the conversion kit for this one. I've played around with this one. I think it's really good if you hit your shots, but it can be very unforgiving. If you miss those shots, you're going to get beamed. So give this one a shot. Let me know in the comments if you like it. I don't know that I'm going to be running this one too much, but the data doesn't lie. And if you're able to control those shots, it definitely is extremely viable. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for today. Hopefully you learned something new today and enjoyed the content. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe. And in the comments, let me know what guns you're going to be running around or Zixstan with. All right, till next time. Peace.